us call it as the field makes their way out of turn 14 to complete pace lap number 1. That means just 1 to go until we'll see the green flag. High above this racetrack, he's got a bird's eye view. He'll be calling turns 3 through about 8 if he wants. Jake Query, how's that view up there this good Sunday morning?
It is spectacular. It is protected a bit by cloud cover. The Northern Trust Bank building on 1st Street here in St. Petersburg is where I'm perched, out on the balcony of Squaremouth, the travel insurance corporation, who has been kind enough, Chris Harvey and his group, to open up the balcony once again for me this year. I watched the field, as you mentioned. They take that right-handed turn number 3. Then it's a long way, about 5 blocks, if you will, up 1st Street here in St. Petersburg. The right-handed turn number 4 just below me. They work their way around Pioneer Park. By the time they've done so, it's a left-handed turn number 5, then another right-handed turn number 6, a right-handed turn number 7. They work their way back into the view of Al Lang Stadium, the Halfpenny Theater, the Salvador Dali Museum, and they come into the view of Dave first.
Yep, Jake, once they work their way through that technical portion of the race course, they can open it up as they plow through the gears heading down Bayshore Drive. On their right, the beautiful Mahaffey Theater, and then the world-famous Salvador Dali Museum. To their left, multi-million-dollar yachts all docked at the Yacht Club, including one belonging to IndyCar team owner Roger Penske. It's at that point they climb onto the brakes, make a 90-degree left-hander, trying to avoid the wall on the right, which has reached out and bit some of the best of them in IndyCar. We're ready to go, overlooking Dan Weldon Way, on the way to the start of race number 2 here this afternoon.
Jake, Dave, thank you very much. After they leave that view of Dave first, it's a little switchback S-complex for these drivers that could be awful tricky, all leading up to that turn 14 hairpin, that final 90-degree turn that the field will matriculate through right now. Alignment looks pretty good. Colton Herta is your pole sitter. Santi Urrutia to his outside. Keep those fingers crossed that will make it through turn number 1. Green flag waves. Urrutia quickly ducks behind Herta. Now pops to the outside. They'll go 3 and 4 wide behind him. Herta locks him up just a bit. A lot of brake smoke and some wheel banging further back, but Colton Herta is clear. He has the lead, Jake Query, and he'll bring Santi Urrutia with him through turn number 3.
They go around that turn number 3, single file. As a matter of fact, now all of a sudden it's Nico Jimin into the wall. That allows Colton Herta to pull away just a little bit. Juan Pedrahita and as well his teammate Award go side by side. Full course caution here on lap number 1.
And it looks like it's going to be a 2-car incident, Jake. As you mentioned, Nico Jimin has pounded the outside wall. Davey, it looks like the gentleman that was on the podium for the first time yesterday, Neil Alberico, got a piece of that as well. They made it through turn 1, but that tricky turn 3 claimed 2 race cars.
Yeah, you know, it was actually right at turn 3 again, and I don't know if they hit the curbing. Boy, somebody's coming really late, too.
That's Ryan Norman.
No, he must have had a late... on the start must have had an issue or something, because just coming by the accident now. But I don't know if they hit the curb, or we have to watch a replay right now, but definitely hard contact for both of those cars in turn 3.
Again, that is Nico Jimin, the rookie driver for Andretti Autosport, and Neil Alberico. And Davey, you got a good look at the replay here. Boy, it almost looked like the rear of that car just bounced off the ground for Jimin.
Well, it happened way before, and actually Alberico, you can see his left front tire already damaged. He ran into the back of Jermaine in turn 2, basically. Was way before turn 3. Got him up in there, and they landed. They both had damage at that point. So, yeah, that was just a tight field coming through there is what it was.
The good news with turn 3 and turn 2 being manipulated, that is a slower portion of the racetrack. Neither one of those hits considered severe. Both of those drivers out of those race cars. But Jake Query, the day is done for both Neil Alberico and Nico Jimin.
Yeah, just wanted to pass that along, Nick, because it is just below me here where Nico Jimin has gotten out of his race car. Neil Alberico just about a city block behind him, but wanted to pass along. Both of them, once that Homatro safety crew was right there, waited, lifted up that visor, and hopped out under their own power.
David, we saw things pretty nice and even up front. Colton Herta smoked the tires a bit getting into turn 1, but from about 3rd on back, it was 3 or 4 wide getting into turn 1. As it funnels into turn 2 and turns 3, this was pretty much bound to happen.
Yeah, no, it just gets so tight down there, and it was a kind of odd situation because he got ran into the back of a guy, and so, but that happens. He may have lifted, you can't tell, we're not in those cockpits, but Jermaine may have lifted just that little teeny bit, and really at that point, it just left Alberico with nowhere to go.
So again, a full course caution on the opening lap of this second race of the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Here's the running order, how they made it through the rest of the field through turns 3 and 4, and now bunched up behind the pace car. It is Colton Herta who is your leader. Santi Urrutia was able to slot into the second position. Kyle Kaiser actually jumped from 5th all the way to 3rd on that opening lap, so a nice move by that Juncos driver. Dalton Kellett runs 4th. Pato Award is 5th. Juan Pedrojita runs in 6th. He picked up 2 spots on the start. Matthias Leist, he also slid his way from 12th all the way to the 7th position on the start. Shelby Blackstock runs 8th. Our winner yesterday, Aaron Telitz, is in the 9th position. Nico DePero is 10th. Zach Clayman DeMello is 11th. Garth Ricards is 12th. Ryan Norman is 13th. And the first 2 cars out of the race, Nico Jamin, who yesterday had a 7th place finish, and Neil Alberico, who again was on the podium, first career podium. So much momentum, Davey. That's a tough way for a driver to bounce back just one day after having his best finish of his career.
Yeah, boy, how about this sport, right? On top of the world one day, and the next day you don't even make it through 3 corners, and you're out of the event. So, he's definitely. It's definitely not a good feeling, but it's the start of the season. There's a long ways to go. Things, good things could happen. Looks like they're actually doing a lot of repair to the wall. Moved the wall out a little bit. They hit it hard enough, and we see one wrecker picking up one of the cars, but still need a second one for the Alberico car. So it's taking a little while to clean up. It's an area too, Nick, where there's walls on both sides. There's not a lot of places for safety equipment and people to be. So they're doing a good job by trying to get us ready to go racing here.
And again, that Homatro safety crew, I mean, we sing their praises every year, but I don't think enough can be said. This is a group that travels full-time with the series. They go to every single race, so they work with the IndyCar series. They know these drivers, and most importantly, Davey, they have experience with these racetracks. A lot of these guys on the Homatro safety crew have been coming to St. Petersburg for a decade now. They know these walls. They know the racetrack. They know what they want to see in terms of whether a wall needs repaired or doesn't. And in this situation, as you can see, they're going to make some repairs to that outside wall.
Yeah, and they, like I said, they know what they're doing. You never want to question them because they have the experience, and it's an area where you're coming off a corner. You want the wall smoother, just in case a car is to get up next to that wall and ride it. You don't want any edges of the wall protruding out to catch you and make it even worse. So they'll take their time, get it right, and we'll go racing momentarily.
Just got a note from race control that we're going to have the Team Pelfrey machines. They're going to swap positions at a pass under the yellow, and that a lot of times is going to happen when you have an opening lap accident. There's a lot of slotting, and guys are going to jump off the throttle and observe the caution a little bit earlier than others. So Pato Award, who was in 5th, will give up that position to his teammate Juan Pedrojita. Again, working a full course caution here early in Indy Lights race number 2. Rob Howden is with one of those drivers who unfortunately is out of this event early.
Nico, first thing, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It was not a big contact. I mean, I just clipped the wall and ended my race, but yeah, I'm absolutely fine, yeah.
So you come through turn number 1, obviously it was a little bit hectic. You were able to get through cleanly. Did you just feel a shot in the back? The replay looked like Neil just got in the back of you.
Yeah, I mean, I got through turn 1 nice and clean, and then I went through turn 2. I had the advantage. I was in front of him, but there's just no room for 2 cars there. And I think the best option for him would have been to go in the shortcut and give back the position, because there's no way we can fit 2 cars through there. So yeah, we touched and sends me into the wall on the left, and that ended the race.
I just look forward to Barber Motorsports Park now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nico Jamin, ladies and gentlemen, one of the top drivers in the Pro Mazda category last year, out early here. We'll go up pit lane to Joe Sebastianelli.
Neil Alberico finished 3rd in yesterday's race, unfortunately unable to make it through the first lap today. What happened, Neil?
I was just on the outside of turn 2, side by side with Nico the whole time. We exited fine, and we're just going in a straight line up into turn 3, and he just turned me right in the wall. So kind of a bummer, but hopefully come back at Barber and have another couple good results. Long way to go in the championship.
Yesterday we saw 4 wide in turn 1, some beating and banging out there today. Did you think that guys were being a little over-aggressive on the start?
It's the first race of the year. I think everyone gets a little anxious, but I was hoping today we'd get a clean one and just kind of pick guys off, but couldn't even get through the first lap without other drivers making a mistake.
How do you put this behind you as you head to Barber?
Yeah, you just forget about it and move on, start all over with a clean slate the next race.
Neil Alberico still in the championship hunt, because there is a long way to go, guys.
Yeah, it's a great point, Joel. It is a very, very long season, and a lot of points can be made up. Davey, the comments that I gather, let's see, Jamin said Alberico should have took the shortcut, just gone over the curbing and given the spot back. Alberico says, yeah, he just kind of ran me off the racetrack.
Well,
that's what we call a racing deal, right?
You know what? And it's risk to reward, and I think they're both seeing that right now. And I have to, from the outside looking in, I mean, I'm not in the cockpit, but it's just like if you're on the street, the guy in the back and it runs into somebody is usually the problem. And to me, Alberico should have gave him the space. It's risk to reward. I mean, yes, were they tight through there? Yes, was he up there, but not completely beside him for sure, because his front touched Jameen's back. So it's now you look back at that and it's risk to reward. It's like, should have I went through there side by side with him, knowing that a curbing's coming up at turn 3 and it's going to get very, very tight? I'm sure you'd think it over again, but it obviously didn't work. So, they'll go back and think about it, and it was a racing incident, but, you need to learn how to minimize those accidents.
Let's go to pit lane. Rob Howden, you're standing by with John Doonan from Mazda.
Getting a chance to talk to the man from Mazda here right now. John, great to have you here. You were able to throw the green flag. That looked like a lot of fun. Last year we had an unbelievable season, 7 winners in the first 8 races, a high level of competition. It seems to me like we're going to have it again. The Mazda, obviously the back of all the race cars, you got to be pleased with this level of competition.
Thanks, Rob, and we are. You look at qualifying yesterday, or I guess it was Friday, and you have 5 different teams at the top, and what better place for teams and drivers to showcase their talent than the Mazda Road to Indy. What we've been able to do with Dan Anderson and the whole Anderson Promotions team, everybody at Cooper, Chris Pantani and his crew, this is really special and nothing like it in the world, we like to say. And to see all these drivers have this chance and then hopefully get that chance at the Verizon IndyCar Series level is exactly what this whole thing's all about.
Obviously the Mazda Scholarship Program has been huge. It's been able to bring guys like Spencer Pigot all the way to the Verizon IndyCar Series. Well, that program had an unbelievable day yesterday. All 3 of your Mazda-sponsored drivers, the scholarship drivers, the champions from last year, were able to win yesterday. Oliver Askew winning, Anthony Martin, and of course Aaron Tielis as well. What a big day. Amazing
day. 3 Soul Red Mazdas in victory circle, but our staff was walking out of here last night on the way to dinner and just said it's proof of concept. This whole program started, honestly, 10 years ago, and the number of drivers that we've been able to support with scholarships and drivers that are now coming from around the world, this is what it's all about, a clear, concise path of scholarships to showcase driving talent and hopefully give them the chance to grow their careers in a Mazda-powered car.
We got a Verizon IndyCar Series race later today. You'll be cheering for Spencer Pigot and Ed Jones.
Well, the whole list is growing now. Ed Jones, James Hinchcliffe, Spencer Pigot, Graham Rahal, they've all at some point of their career been on the Mazda Road to Indy, and we're really proud of that. We hope we can continue to provide this program for the industry, and hopefully one day someone's standing there on the Yard of Bricks as a part of and as a result of the Mazda Road to Indy.
John, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rob.
I'll tell you, Nick Yeoman, he talks about getting a guy there with that big trophy standing on the Yard of Bricks at the Indianapolis 500. The way they're going, the entire grid is going to be Mazda Road to Indy graduates sooner or later. That is going to be a fact sooner or later down the line.
Yeah, that percentage continues to increase because just so much great talent coming through the Indy Lights Series. Cleanup has been completed. Field will make their way out of turn number 14, and we're going to go back to racing here on lap number 5. And Davey, Juan Pedro Hita has spun out of turn 14. He does not make contact. He'll keep that car in line, but he's going to go to the tail of the field. Back up front, Colton Herta. He's going to be challenged by Santi Urrutia. Everybody going to mind their P's and Q's, Jake Query, on this restart lap as Herta leads him through turn number 3.
So Herta through turn number 3, about a 2-car length advantage. Front 3 spaced out pretty evenly. You've got Herta, then Urrutia. Kyle Kaiser moves right there on the heels of Santi Urrutia. It's Colton Herta now through turn number 5. They work their way around Pioneer Park. Nick, to your point, everybody single file, I think a little more cautious this time by. That's to the advantage of the 16-year-old Colton Herta. Starts to draw just a little bit of room between himself and Santi Urrutia.
Colton Herta, yep, discretion, the better part of valor for everyone behind him. You see the number 5 missing of Santi Urrutia, not making up any ground through turn 10, Dan Weldon Way, as they complete their first hot lap here today.
Boy, those issues, Davey, for Juan Pedro Hita out of turn 14. Let's clean up that issue just a bit. On a restart, boy, it just looked like he looped it coming out of the final.
Got on the throttle a little quick, which is easy to do, coming onto that runway, actually, off of turn 14 onto the long straightaway. just overpowered that teeny bit, spun the tires, and like I say, he continued going, but it put him to the back of the field.
Big brake lockup further back in the field for Shelby Blackstock in that bright red car. Jake Query, he's going to have yesterday's winner in that soul red Mazda. Aaron Telitz all over the rear wing.
That's the battle technically for 6th position. As a matter of fact, Telitz is right there, and Laced is just in front of Shelby Blackstock. The leaders already now around Pioneer Park. Going in between 1 and 2, it looks like Herta all of a sudden has Urrutia right on his heels. But then that long stretch between 3 and 4, Colton Herta first starts to get himself some breathing room.
Yep, they blast through the gears, and Herta with a nice lead, perhaps doing his best Aaron Telitz impression here this morning. Santi Urrutia, he remains in second. Telitz makes a move on Blackstock. He makes up his position here this morning.
So Aaron Telitz is on the move early as he gets past Blackstock. That'll move him into the 7th position. Leaders off of turn number 14. Blackstock's now going to have his hands full with Nicholas DePero and Davey. This is something we saw yesterday, battling throughout the pack.
Yeah, which is good. And Telitz, you know, now he's going to find out how good his car really is. How good can he pass? How good can he come through traffic? Yesterday, he was on the pole, took off, left everybody in his dust. But now he's having to work at it. That really tells you how good that car is.
Really nice pass by Pato O'Ward into turn number 1 as he got around Dalton Kellett. So move Pato O'Ward into the 4th position. Here's how they run with 8 laps in the books. It's Colton Herta, your leader. Santi Urrutia is 2nd. Kyle Kaiser is 3rd. Dalton Kellett 4th. Pato O'Ward is now 4th. Dalton Kellett will be slipped back to 5th. Matthias Laced is 6th. Aaron Telitz is up to 7th. Shelby Blackstock is 8th. Nico DePero is 9th. Zachary Clayman DeMello runs 10th. Ryan Norman is 11th. Garth Rickards is 12th. Juan Pedrojita 13th, and the 2 drivers out of the race, 14th and 15th, Nico Jabin and Neil Alberico. Day first, Aaron Telitz is on the move.
Yeah, we haven't seen this yet here this weekend under race conditions for the Indy Lights Series, but that time by, Aaron Telitz with a move to the left, and it was more than a move. He ended up making the pass inside of turn 10, so move Aaron Telitz, yesterday's winner, up to 6th here this morning.
Davey, he dominated yesterday's race as Shelby Blackstock's going to take a look to the inside of Matthias Laced as well. Not going to be able to pull off the pass, but yesterday for Aaron Telitz, he dominated the race, didn't get a chance to use that push-to-pass system, so you better believe he's going to lean on that button today.
You know, he's leaning on it today, and he's pulling away. He's making ground, and as I said earlier, this tells you how good that car is, and it seems to be pretty darn good. Now, can he make up enough time to get up to that 2nd or 3rd spot, or even give Herta a challenge? We'll soon see.
Rob Howden, Aaron Telitz started 10th. He is now up to the 6th position. And again, this new push-to-pass system in the Indy Lights Series, these drivers really seem to think they like it.
Yeah, Nick, a couple of increases in today's race that are going to play to Aaron Telitz. The race actually 10 laps longer, so he'll have more time to get to the front if it's a possibility for him. Of course, we will watch tire degradation as well. We expect those tires to go off a little more here at the end of the race. Plus, they get more push-to-passes. They got 15 10-second blasts yesterday. They'll get 20 here today. And you can be sure that Telitz will be using all of them. He'll need to be within a second of the guy in front of him in the right zone to use it, but he'll use all 20 trying to get himself back to the podium.
Got a good battle for 3rd developing. Pato O'Ward jumps to the outside of Kyle Kaiser, locks up the right front of it. They're going to go wheel to wheel. They bang wheels. Here they come through turn 3, Jake Query. Pato O'Ward's going to pull off the pass on Kyle Kaiser.
Yep, Kaiser tucks in behind him now. As a matter of fact, O'Ward starts to get himself a couple of extra car links. Dalton Kellett wants to get a better look at that battle. He right now about 3 car links behind Kyle Kaiser.
Boy, what a nice pass by Pato O'Ward. Went to the outside and held on to it. Quite a bit of contact there at the exit of turn number 1, but O'Ward takes the spot, moves into the 3rd position, and Dave First, he's only got 2 cars now in his sights for the young Mexican driver.
Well, the problem is those 2 cars are still, I'm going to call it 12 car lengths away, but Pato O'Ward for the last lap and a half or so have been reeling in. Kyle Kaiser finally got him that last time around. Pato O'Ward 3rd, Herta, Urrutia, O'Ward the top 3.
That is the top 3 as they run. Kyle Kaiser has slipped back to 4th, and as Jake talked about, may fall into the grasp of Dalton Kellett very shortly. Up front, though, Davey Hamilton, Colton Herta sets the fastest lap of the race at a minute 8.340. It's not like he's checked out on Santi Urrutia. That advantage is 1.7 seconds, but this 16-year-old looks awful fast and awful confident early in this race.
Well, and the key thing, I think, for Colton is he's about 0.2 a second per lap faster. So every lap, he just keeps pushing it out there a little farther, a little farther. Like you say, it's 1.7 seconds right now, but he's continuing to pull out a lead.
For more on that 16-year-old in the lead, Colton Herta, Rob Houghton has more on pit lane.
Yeah, Nick, I had a chance to actually talk to Colton on pit lane during IndyCar warm-up this morning, and we talked about the car and maybe if they made any changes. He said, no, that car was so good yesterday, we left it alone. We think we got a car that can take me to the front and let me pull away. And he obviously very confident after a great second-place run yesterday. But again, no issues whatsoever yesterday, so they let the car go. Joel Sebastianelli, he's out front right now, and Colton Herta looking to get his first race win.
He is, and another guy looking to get his first race win, too, is Dalton Kellett. Everybody at Andretti Autosport that I talked to this morning seemed very pleased with the setup yesterday, so for the most part, they left it alone. Minimal changes between Saturday evening and Sunday morning, and Kellett was beaming ear to ear. This is his third year with Andretti, but he's still seeking his first win on the Mazda road to Indy in his sophomore season in Indy Lights here. Started third this morning, but falling back a couple of spots to fifth right now.
Jake Query, let's pick up a battle a little bit further in the field. In the 9th position, that's Nico DePero, that Juncos car, and a guy darting to the inside, Zachary Clayman DeMello. That's tightening up.
Yeah, and just as you said that, they started to then separate just a little bit. That battle now works its way through 4 and 5. Shelby Blackstock is right there also, should he want to try to play with those two, but he's going to want to try to keep them about 10 car lengths in bay.
DePero makes his way out of turn number 9, headed towards turn 10, Dave First, about a 3 or 4 car length advantage back to Clayman DeMello.
I'll tell you, Urrutia, give him credit, he's not letting Herta get too far away from him, perhaps hoping for a caution to really bunch things up. But Santi Urrutia, who came oh so close to winning the 2016 Indy Lights Championship, he's keeping a close eye on Colton Herta here today.
It's Herta, Urrutia, Award, Kaiser, and Kellett, your top 5. Aaron Telitz runs in 6th. Matthias Leist is 7th. Nico DePero is holding down the 8th position. He's got his hands full, though, still with Zachary Clayman DeMello in that blue and green Carlin Racing machine. Jake, they're nose to tail roaring out of turn 3.
And every time you say it out of 3, DeMello seems to fall just a little bit back. But right now, it's about a 2 car length difference between those two. Again, Clayman DeMello trying to keep DePero in view. When they go through that turn number 6, they start to pull away just a little bit from the car who's trying to reel them in. That's Ryan Norman, who got up to a slow start today.
Dave First, is that advantage from 2nd back to 3rd decreasing at all with Urrutia to Award?
Hard to tell at this point because there's so much give and take, and you never know who's on the push to pass and who's not. But that battle for 9th certainly is a good one. DeMello and Nico DePero. Remember, it's a Carlin versus Juncos Racing. Nico DePero, very young, new to the series. DeMello has 1 year under his belt.
31 laps to go. Davey Hamilton in this race here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Again, crazy opening lap. He sent 2 behind the wall, and Nico Jabin and Neil Alberico. There's days end early, and boy, Zachary Clayman DeMello going to pull off that pass now to the inside of Nico DePero, so move Clayman DeMello into the 9th position. But things calm down a little bit in this race, and these guys try to put in some laps. Again, this is a race that is a little bit longer, 45 laps instead of just 35 yesterday.
Yeah, and tires could play an issue, and I just kind of keeping track of lap times, and right now, Herta, Urrutia, and Award, those guys are running pretty close at the same time. Honestly, they're really, really close, but Herta, that leader, just a tick faster. Those guys just continues to pull out, stretch his lead out just a little bit more. But then I look back at Kellett. Kellett's hung up in traffic, obviously, right now, and he's trying to get by Kaiser. Actually, Kellett is on top of Kaiser right now, but he's losing some ground as well. They just got to keep pushing right now and hope tires don't wear out. Where yesterday they didn't. Remember, we looked halfway through the race and fastest laps were being set, but that extra 10 laps could make a difference.
Jake Query, you've got a bird's eye view of this event, and so far All these drivers playing nice here as we are 10 laps. We have 10 laps in the book.
Here's what's interesting, and I wanted Davey to touch on this perhaps. If everybody was starting out on scuffed tires in this particular Cooper tires for race number 2, Davey, bottom line is right now this entire track is under cloud cover. Now yesterday it was sun drenched, but it was later in the day, so there were shadows that maybe altered things in periods. But on this particular morning, the entire track right now has the grace of that cloud overhead. How sensitive is this particular track to that sunlight, and is that maybe to the advantage of those who might need a little bit more tire wear?
Yeah, good point. Very good point, because with that cloud cover, it does help. Keeps the tires cooler a little bit, the brakes cooler, and the wear better. So with that cloud cover, it definitely helps these guys be more consistent and have those tires be more consistent, more importantly. So when it's sun drenched, the car seems to wear tires out quicker, and the balance of the car seems to be changed quite a bit. So a very key point.
And that is, Davey, that's a factor that you would think certainly lends preference to the veteran drivers who have run on these tires. A guy like Santi Urrutia, who's in second, he knows what these tires are going to go throughout the course of the race.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, right? And I'm pretty sure he's pushing as hard as he can right now. And right, that last lap, Colton finally, every lap he just goes a little quicker, a little quicker. He just broke into the 107 bracket. Urrutia is 108.3, so almost a half a second different that lap. So what does that tell you? Did Urrutia make a little bit of a mistake and slow down? But Herta just keeps plugging away about a tenth quicker every lap.
Just had a change for the 12th position. Juan Pedro Hita, who had a spin on the restart, has run down Garth Ricards and made the pass in turn number 1. Misspoke just a minute ago. Now 17 laps in the books here on the streets of St. Petersburg. And Davey, you mentioned Santi Urrutia doing a good job. Colton Herta is starting to stretch that lead out, but Urrutia looks like he may have his hands full. That bright yellow car of Pato O'Ward, who's shown speed all weekend, appears to be running him down.
Well, and back to lap times, he just set fastest lap of the race, or let that lap of a 107.7. Actually, that is the fastest lap of the race. So he just he's laying it down. He's putting the pressure on Urrutia right now, and he needs to get by him to have a shot at Colton.
And Jake Query, looks like Santi Urrutia kind of searching for grip around this racetrack.
Now, I'll tell you what he has right now. Urrutia is that bright red car, and then right behind him in your eye, immediately that bright yellow of O'Ward comes into view. Now, this is just after, of course, you've gotten used to seeing the fact that Colton Herta has run away. He's got about a 20 car length advantage right now.
How about one of the car owners for that car that is leading the pack right now? Rob Howden, I imagine Michael Andretti got to be pretty excited to have Colton Herta underneath that Andretti Steinbrunner banner.
Michael, you've had some great drivers in your Indy Lights team. Of course, last year winning the Freedom with Dean Stoneman. What are your initial thoughts seeing Colton in his first weekend here this year?
Very, very impressive. I think he's proven already that he's the real deal. So we're really excited for him. He's so young. He's got so much ahead of him. He's got a bright future.
What about the maturity yesterday? The way he was able to work his way back from 6th position, the passes he made, especially that last pass without the push the pass option. For me, that was just unbelievable.
Very, very impressive. Very mature drive. Couldn't have been more proud of him.
Did you have any kind of pep talk here today to talk to him about how to handle the pole position opposed to coming through the field?
No, I didn't think we really need to. He knows what he needs to do, and you saw what he did at the start. It was a perfect start, for what he needed to do, and not allow those guys to get a shot at him. So, he's doing a very good job.
Good chance we'll see you in victory lane.
We'll see. I hope so.
Michael Andretti, Nick, he's got a lot of confidence in his young charge. What an impressive run here for Colton Herta. What a debut weekend for the young Californian.
Yeah, it's a great point, Rob. And Davey, if Michael Andretti, who's a veteran of the sport, has been in victory lane all over the world and certainly both in the race car and on the pit box, when he doesn't feel like he needs to give a 16-year-old a pep talk to focus on the pole, I think that says a lot about the maturity of Colton Herta.
Well, and what's crazy about, and a lot of these young kids, and Colton as well, is they've been doing this so long in other forms. Colton started out as a very, very young kid and been to Europe, and he has a great instructor and obviously the genes to be very successful at this. So when you get a kid that gets it, and he listens, and he does everything proper, and he's done all the listening. He's 16, but he doesn't know it all. But right now, it sure looks like he does.
Last couple laps, Pato O'Ward set the fastest lap of the race and started to reel in Santi Urrutia. And then last lap, Urrutia said, okay, I'll step it up a bit, and he turns the fastest lap of the event so far at a minute 7.590. So that battle for second continues to be an interesting one. They're separated by just 0.8 of a second. Up front, though, Dave, first, Colton Herta cruising right now, 2.7 seconds ahead of the field.
Yeah, that battle for second's not bad. I'm going to predict that we're going to have a battle for fifth here momentarily. Aaron Thielen starts to reel in Dalton Kellett a little bit, so yesterday's winner perhaps on the move here this morning.
Yeah, we see him roar out of turn number 14. That's a great point, Dave. First, Aaron Thielen is now close to within about 3 or 4 car lengths. As for that battle for second, Davey, as they make their way into turn number 1, we see Urrutia and Pato O'Ward. O'Ward looking awful smooth through the S's there.
He is looking really good, and he's definitely making ground on Urrutia. And Thielen is, as Dave said, he is close to Kellett, but he's not within the time to use his push to pass. So he's got to gain just a little bit more, but once he gets to that area, I expect to see him make a pass for fifth.
And that magic distance is just 1 second. You have to be 1 second within the car in front of you to be able to open up that car and use that extra horsepower. So as you mentioned, for some of these drivers, for Thielen, he was 0.7 of a second back before the previous lap. Again, O'Ward is just 0.9 of a second, so that's going to fluctuate throughout the course of a lap. And boy, you just got to get close enough to get that run.
He was 1.1. He was just barely off last, but now he's within. He's 0.8 off, so he could use it this time coming down that front straightaway. And we're going to see if he does right now to see if he can gain on him.
Up front, it is Colton Herta, who has led every single lap, all 20 laps so far, followed by Santi Urrutia, and then the Mexican driver, Pato O'Ward. Colton Herta now sets the fastest lap of this event. Further back in fourth is Kyle Kaiser. Fifth is Dalton Kellett. Let's pick up that battle for fifth as Dalton Kellett makes his way through turns 1 and 2. Jake Query, yesterday's winner, Aaron Thielen in that Soul Red Mazda car. Again, starting to reel in that second-year driver for Andretti Autosport.
Yeah, Kellett has had an active day already, no doubt about it. Kyle Kaiser in front of him, and of course he has also been holding off at different times, laced earlier in this race, but now he's got, as you had mentioned, the guy that yesterday flat out was dominant in Thielen, who is right behind him. You have to wonder when that push to pass might come into play. Not right now is the answer, because it's about a 25-yard or so advantage for Kellett.
Yeah, Dalton Kellett chalked last year up as a learning experience. Didn't exactly have the results that he wanted, although he's getting a little bit of a result right now, able to make up a little bit of room between he and Thielen. Let's call it 4 car lengths as they head to turn 14.
Maybe for those joining us online, they're getting a good shot of that onboard of Aaron Thielen in that Soul Red Mazda for Belardi Auto Racing. Going through the fastest part of this racetrack right now into turn number 1.
Yeah, and I didn't see any hand movement on the steering wheel to push the overtake button, not knowing exactly where it is on his particular steering wheel, but it looks like he's not using it yet, maybe saving it for later on in this event.
And Jake Query, he is not necessarily in the clear, because Matthias Leist is just about 3 or 4 car lengths behind yesterday's winner.
Yeah, Leist has had a pretty active day as well. I mentioned it earlier on, and now he's trying to close in. It's funny, Nick, you are right on it, because just as we were starting to think that Thielen was going to get there on Kellett, then Leist said, you know what, I'd kind of like to get involved in this procedure. Once they come, we've got a problem now, just out of my view, but I can tell that somebody has made contact. It is Dalton Kellett who has made contact out of turn number 7, comes to a stop just outside of turn number 8, where that car comes to a stall, and now this full course has come under the caution flag.
Davey, we were watching that onboard of Aaron Thielen. It happened right in front of him there, exiting Pioneer Park.
Yeah, what happened coming off of turn 8, which is a difficult spot. There's a crown in the road, so when you come off that corner and you get to, it feels like you have good grip in the center of the corner, but on exit the road crowns off. Cars get loose there, the tires wear, and he was pushing it, spun that thing, got the nose in the wall, ripped the front nose wing off, and he was the only car involved, but that could have been worse than it was, because right behind him, right? I mean, that was Thielen was right behind him, if I recall, and he could have got in there. But what this does for everybody is going to pack the field up again and give everybody another shot to fight with that car in front of them.
And you better believe they're all going to be within a second of each other on the restart. So that is certainly big for a lot of those drivers in second and third. We'd like Mark Reynolds, the general manager, and all the folks at the St. Petersburg Yacht Club for offering us an announcer position on the roof. The St. Petersburg Yacht Club offers a full-service catering department with over 10,000 square feet of space for private banquets, weddings, corporate meetings, bridal showers, and civic events. So again, thanks to Mark Radams, the general manager of the folks at the St. Petersburg Yacht Club here this weekend. So Colton Herta, Santi Urrutia, Pato O'Ward, Kyle Kaiser, and Aaron Telitz, the top 5. Dalton Kellett has made his way down to pit lane. Rob Howden, you got a good eye on that race car for Andretti Autosport.
Yeah, right here, right now, Nick. And just like everybody on the team and the guys from Cooper Tire having a good look at it, they're trying to see what kind of damage was done. There was obviously some contact on the left side of the race car. He white-walled both cars. They had to put a new front wing on it as well. They're going to work on the left, or rather the left rear. It's going to be a new right rear on the car. So significant contact here, Nick Yeoman. He really white-walled the left side of the car and a flat right rear and a new front wing. So a lot of work for Dalton Kellett trying to get him back out.
And we are back to green flag action here as the pace car is pulled in. So a quick full course caution. Pato O'Ward's going to try to jump to the outside of Santi Urrutia. They're going to go side by side. Urrutia muscles him out of the way and holds on to that second position. So Jake, a great start for Colton Herta, but second through about 7th is awful tight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that battle for third right now is a good one as well. Kaiser is going to make the move. As a matter of fact, he's going to go to the inside, put Kyle Kaiser now into that third position. So Colton Herta is your leader. Then behind him it's Urrutia. Kaiser runs now in third, and O'Ward shuffled back to fourth, working their way around Pioneer Park. And now Colton Herta tries to extend that lead. He's got about a 12-car length advantage on Santi Urrutia.
All that jockeying behind Colton Herta has helped Colton Herta. Urrutia now lost a lot of ground. Kyle Kaiser running third. Pato O'Ward hangs on to fourth. And guess what? Here comes Aaron Telitz moving up as well.
A lot of jockeying for position. Shelby Blackstock is all over the rear wing of Matthias Lace. That's a battle for 6 as they make their way through turns 14. Colton Herta with a nice 10 to 15 car length advantage as he crosses the stripe to complete lap number 25. Santi Urrutia safely in second. Kaiser is moved up to third. Pato O'Ward is fifth, with Jake Query O'Ward and that bright yellow machine as yesterday's winner bearing right down on the rear wing. That's Aaron Telitz through turn number 3.
The last time by, there was a sizable gap between the two of them. Now it is absolutely become noticeably closer. Telitz now is moving his way, trying to close in. And right now we have Rickards also has a problem, Nick. Can't see it right now, but this field works its way around Pioneer Park.
Yeah, Jake, that might just be just out of your view. That's at the exit of turn number 3, that new portion of the racetrack. That is Garth Rickards has brought out a full course caution. Davey, not sure what happened, but that was a big hit for that driver for Carlin.
Yeah, another big hit, and that's the second Carlin car in the wall in turn 3 right there. This wasn't just a little one. This car's wiped out big time. Looks like he's okay. He's not out of the car yet. Yeah, he gave a little thumbs up there, so he's fine. But boy, that car got destroyed.
So a full course caution for Garth Rickards, who has wrecked that Carlin racing machine in turn number 3, pounding the outside wall. So that leaves Colton Herta up front. Santi Urrutia second, Kyle Kaiser third, Pato O'Ward is fourth, Aaron Telitz is fifth, Matthias Lace is sixth, Shelby Blackstock is seventh, Zachary Clayman DeMello 8th, Nico DePero 9th, Juan Pedro Hita 10th. And again, Davey, good to see him now hopping out of that race car.
Yeah, he's definitely okay. But boy, he did wipe that car. They're tearing a lot of carnage in today's race compared to yesterday. Yesterday, pretty clean, had a few little incidents, but today, boy, there's some big hits going on.
Let's go to pit lane. Joel Sebastianelli, he's down in that Pelfrey pits. They're certainly keeping their eye on 4th place running Pato O'Ward and 10th place running Juan Pedro Hita.
They are. Pato O'Ward looking quite racy today and yesterday as we expected. Last year in Pro Mazda, you had a chance to see him with Pelfrey as well. 6 wins in the first 7 races. How have you seen Pato grow?
Yeah, he's an amazing driver. He's doing a really mature job out there, considering it's his first race in Indy Lights and driving like a pro with a lot of experience. It's really tough out there, and it's some really good racing. So I hope we can keep it there up front.
This ride was just announced for Pato by you guys about a week ago. Is this something we could see materialize into a full season run?
We're definitely working on finding some extra funding for the rest of the year, but, you know, it's always tough, and we keep our fingers crossed.
Although Juan Pedro Hita has not had quite the start to the race that he was expecting with that incident. I know he was telling me today he was really happy with the car. You optimistic about his chances and seeing him grow for the rest of the season as well?
Yeah, Juan's in for the season, and he's done an amazing job in off-season testing. He's found, you know, some speed in himself. He just got caught out with the cold tires and the push to pass on the restart, unfortunately put himself to the back, but he's making progress back through the field now, so we'll see what he can get done.
Okay, team boss Gary Neal and the rest of the Team Pelfrey guys keeping an eye on Pato Award and Juan Pietrahita throughout this race. Back to you in the booth.
Thank you, Joel. Davey, that Team Pelfrey group, that's another one of those that's kind of risen their way through the Mazda Road to Indy, two-car lights program. Again, they're searching to try to get Pato Award in that car more often, but Juan Pietrahita is a full-time entry, and that's another young, up-and-coming team in this series.
Yeah, no, it's good to see Pelfrey. Dell's been around a long time. They have really good people in that team, and they all work hard, and they really want to not only be in the Indy Lights full time, in the Mazda Road to Indy Lights, but they want to be in the IndyCar series as well. So Dell's been around a long time. He knows this sport, but as we all talked, funding's really, really hard to find, but can't give up. Got to keep digging.
We've had 3 full course cautions today. This most recent one is for Garth Ricards, who has pounded the turn 3 wall. The first one was for Nico Jamina, Neil Alberico's full course accident there in that turn 3 portion of the racetrack as well. They're both out of the racetrack. That second full course caution, Rob Howden, was for Dalton Kellett, who spun exiting Pioneer Park.
Yeah, looking at the car, looking at the tires when they came off, a potential puncture, might have run over something on the track. So that probably what caused the loop. He just came out of that corner. You see it just kind of spun on him and into the wall. Big damage to the left side of the car, although he's even back on the racetrack. But indeed it was, Davey, likely a puncture of that right rear.
Yeah, well, even in the wreck we just seen, it was odd because he really didn't hit that curb very hard and went straight. So I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a puncture, a tire down or something as well, because it didn't really look like he banged that curb very hard, but he did hit the wall hard, that's for sure.
How tough is it, Davey, on some of these street circuits? We see the Homacho safety crew up there cleaning up accidents. We see street sweepers trying to blow stuff off. But throughout the course of the weekend, there's going to be a lot of stuff laid down.
Yeah, and they do. That's one key thing is these cars, the way they're made, the monocoques and the carbon fiber, and the way the cars are built to absorb an impact to keep the driver safe. It lays a lot of debris out. A part of the deal with the debris is it's sharp carbon fiber and aluminum and magnesium and titanium and things that can puncture your tires fairly easy. So that's one key thing with this safety crew is not only do they make sure the driver's safe, it's their job to make sure the track's clean after these incidents. So a lot of work for these guys.
Rob Howden standing by with certainly a disappointed 24-year-old from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
Garth, obviously a really hard hit for you there. First off, are you okay?
Yeah, all good. The cars are really safe, and thankfully, it held up. Just really disappointed. Mostly just a mistake from myself. Locked up the brakes in the 3 there. Been struggling there all weekend. Quite honestly, been struggling all weekend here. Feel like it's my first day here. But testing was good. So, we're getting lap by lap, getting more data, more confidence.
Start looking forward to April in Barber Motorsports Park. That's a track I know you like.
Yeah, that's, I've always struggled on the street courses for some reason. So once we get to the natural terrain road courses, that seems to be my thing. Mid-Ohio, Barber, Watkins Glen, Road America. So just head down, analyze what I did wrong here, and learn and take it to all the next races.
Great to see that you're okay.
Thank you.
Garth Ricards, Nick, a hard hit, as he said, just a little error getting into the brakes into turn number 3, and it's a tough corner. They changed it midway through the weekend, and it's a very tough corner when you're coming out as well. A hard hit for him. They hopefully can get some tires there next year. We've had a couple of guys in there aggressively on the exit of that corner.
Yeah, Garth Ricards, not the first guy to hit the wall, heck, even in this race, and certainly with a lot of racing throughout the course of today. Probably not going to be the last one to test the limits of that turn 3 wall. Garth Ricards spent the last couple of years in USF 2000, bypassed that Pro Mazda step to join Team Carlin in Indy Lights this season. His father, John, is the president of the Bobby Ray Hall Auto Group in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So good connection there to have. Bobby Rahal thinks awful high of this young man. And I like what I heard from him, Davey. He admits, hey, I got a lot to learn struggling on these street courses. But the nice thing, I only got a couple of them throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, right. Well, and he knows. I mean, and that's one key thing, right? If you know your weakness and you know you need to fix it, go after it. Don't deny it. And he said he made a mistake. He needs to get better on the temporary courses, which he is right. They're very difficult. I mean, there's no room for error. And as you know, it's exciting to see him get on the permanent courses where he's much more comfortable.
Colton Herta is your leader. Santi Urrutia is second. Kyle Kaiser third. Pato Award fourth. Aaron Thielitz fifth. Your top 5 is working a full course caution. Davey, you can see that Carlin machine being towed off the racetrack. That was a pretty big hit.
Yeah, it was definitely a big hit. A lot of stuff off that race car, and But they take the hits, don't they? I mean, no injury. What the most important thing, keeping these drivers safe for these Solara cars, but they'll get it fixed back up for the next race, that's for sure.
16 laps to go, or 18.5 minutes. Again, this race was scheduled for 45 laps or 1 hour. Whatever happens first. Looks like this more than likely, Davey, probably going to end up a timed event,
race,
which is fine. We'll the timing and scoring will update it, and we'll keep you in the loop of just how much time is left when it is a white flag is given. We're going to see the 1 to go now at the line this time by as the field making their way through turn number 10. So one more full lap around this very tricky 14-turn, 1.8-mile street course here in beautiful St. Petersburg, Florida. Overcast skies today here in St. Petersburg. Kind of a little cool this morning. We got to the racetrack and keeping our fingers crossed that Mother Nature cooperates throughout the course of this afternoon. But everyone chasing Colton Herta. He has led every single lap so far today, and did get a warning from race control for this upcoming restart that the number 98 car of Colton Herta, when he exits turn number 10 before the gray, needs to maintain that pace car speed. He did get an awful big jump on that previous restart, Davey, and that's the area of the racetrack exiting turn 10. It's put in the driver's hands as the pace car exits the racetrack, but still got to maintain that pace car speed.
Well, you might as well take advantage of it until they tell you, right?
That's
so,
right.
Ask for forgiveness later, but he did what he was supposed. He did what he thought was the best to get a jump, but he did. But this time he'll do what they say, and I'm sure he'll still be in good shape going down to turn 1.
Jake Query, looks like you've got a clean racetrack. No safety vehicles down there in turn number 3.
Indeed, they got everybody all hitched up and cleaned, and the car, of course, it took them a while to get that car up onto the trailer, but once they did, they had to bring it around this very long course. So everybody now bunched up behind the pace car, working their way around Pioneer Park, starting to warm up those tires just a little bit and just get that last amount of heat perhaps in them for this final dash, and what we hope is a final dash under green here, Nick, as you had mentioned, kind of right now up against the clock, if you will, and we'll see whether or not they finish this one on laps or on time.
Dave, first you can see the field now coming out of turn number 9. You picked out a yacht for yourself there. You had a birthday yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say, I apologize. I've been daydreaming the last 5 minutes or so about what it would take to own one of those beautiful multi-million-dollar yachts. And as mentioned in a pre-race, one of those belonged to IndyCar owner Roger Penske. Brought a new boat here this weekend. Undoubtedly, everyone in the yacht club enjoying this day here at St. Pete.
Appreciate it, Dave. First field accelerating now through turn number 10. Through turn 14. Colton Herta locked up the right front just a bit, but he'll jump on that accelerator. Green flag back in the air here at St. Petersburg. It's Herta, Urrutia, Kaiser. Kaiser's going to have his hands full with Pato O'Ward. Herta locks him up big time into turn number 1. That's going to allow Santi Urrutia to get a bit of a run. Jake Query closes within a car length or 2 as they snake their way into turn number 3.
Urrutia now tries to work towards the inside as they scream out of turn number 3. Kaiser has his hands full from O'Ward, and then it's Thielitz running in the 5th position. Colton Herta about a 2-car length advantage. They work their way out of turn number 5.
They'll now make their way through Pioneer Park, around that beautiful park here around St. Petersburg. Again, Colton Herta has the lead, but it is a 5-car train. Then you got a 6-car train behind them being led by Matthias Lace. So, Dave, 2 separate groups of cars coming at you out of turn number 9.
Santi Urrutia takes a peek as Herta locks up the brakes. No movement there. Will that mean that Santi Urrutia has any room? Nope, no momentum there. He's still in second. Herta continues to lead here at St. Pete.
But Davey, he could be close enough this time out of turn 14 for the push to pass. But heck, there's about 4 guys that I think are going to be leaning on the button.
5 guys have push to pass availability that they come down this front straightaway. We'll see if any of them use it. Looks like maybe O'Ward maybe use it. Looks maybe like Urrutia did.
Urrutia is going to jump to the outside. They're going to go side by side for second. Now Pato O'Ward slips to the inside. He'll muscle that Juncos machine out of the way of Kyle Kaiser. So move Pato O'Ward up into the 3rd spot, Jake Query.
And Herta still has his hands full from Santi Urrutia. Urrutia right behind him right now. I get the feeling that he might just be waiting and pounce, but O'Ward is right there as well. So Urrutia, of course, wants to focus on Colton Herta. He's got to hold on to that 2nd spot because all of a sudden now he's got company in the form of that bright yellow machine of Pato O'Ward. Colton Herta now about a 2-car length advantage. Dave, first as they come to you, O'Ward is trying to reel in Santi Urrutia for second.
The pace Patience award goes to Aaron Telitz. He's watching all these 4 cars in front of him, hoping that someone makes a mistake. Not through turn 10, though. Herta, Urrutia, Award, Kaiser, Telitz, the top 5.
Davey, we're seeing brake smoke all over this racetrack. These guys are locking up these tires left and right.
Yeah, and I noticed the 2 yellow cars, the Pelfrey cars, seem to really be smoking their brakes a lot as well. Obviously, the same bias, same setup, but they can adjust. They have brake bias in there. They can adjust that out just a little bit, but they definitely have some front brake lockup for sure.
Pato Award thought about looking to the inside. He'll try the outside. Santi Urrutia is going to shove him out of the way, up over the curving at the exit of turn number 2. But Pato Award, Jake, is right on that rear wing. Now Urrutia extends it out of turn number 3.
Boy, I'll tell you, Davey put the old hex on it right there, I think, on those Pelfrey cars, because as Award had that struggle with Urrutia further back, his teammate Juan Pedrahita had some battles as well and dropped a couple of spots. The leader is Colton Herta right now around Pioneer Park. He has himself about a 5-car length advantage before Santi Urrutia, then Award, and then Kyle Kaiser.
Herta doesn't mind seeing all that behind him, especially with Urrutia dealing with Award, although this time by, it looks like Urrutia made up a couple of car lengths, so put him 4 car lengths behind Colton Herta.
Further back, we've got a lot of battling. Matthias Lace is trying to hold on to that 7th position, and he's got the number 31 car of Nico DePero all over the rear wing. Juan Pedrahita's right there, as is the 48 car of Ryan Norman. Lace is going to run a little wide. That's going to allow DePero to get a good run on the inside, and they'll drag race down the front straightaway. This is, again, a battle for the 7th position. They may go 3 wide, Davey Hamilton. Here comes Juan Pedrahita. He's going to pass 2 of them. He'll take both of the cars, and then he'll lose all 3 of those spots possibly as Ryan Norman slips through. So, Jake Query, you've got a slew of cars roaring out of turn number 3, led by Nico DePero.
And I'll tell you another battle I want to peek in on. That's the battle for 4th. Kyle Kaiser currently holds it, and Telitz, yesterday's winner, running in 5th, has significantly closed that gap. So you've got the front 3 right now that have themselves about a 15-car length advantage on Kyle Kaiser. But Dave, Kaiser's got yesterday's winner right in his heels.
Urrutia remains in 2nd. Then you go 3 or 4 car lengths back to Award. Let's call it 6 car lengths back to Kaiser. Aaron Telitz, yep, he's on the charge here in St. Pete.
11 minutes to go in this race number 2 as Dalton Kellett slips around Matthias Lace and moves up another spot. So Kellett, who had an incident that brought in a full course caution, had to get a new front wing. He's on the charge and has moved up a spot. Actually, he fell a couple laps down, so he's just trying to charge through that field and hope for some action throughout the field. But Davey Hamilton, since we've gone green here, you can tell these guys turned up the wick. They turned it to 11 because we're seeing a lot of good racing.
Well, and right now, if we look at lap times, Colton Herta is still the fastest lap at a 108.2.28, and then the next one is Urrutia, the guy right behind him at a 3.5, and actually Award has a 3.2. So we're still within a tenth, not even a tenth of a second. So times are dropping and staying there.
Colton Herta slides his way out of Pioneer Park, now sets up for turn number 9. Dave First, that white and blue car still looking strong in the lead.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he is so smooth as he works his way through turn 10. I have the opportunity to kind of look down inside the cockpit, and Ryan Hunter-Ray a year ago on the radio was talking about sometimes you drive it on these street courses and it's like swatting flies inside the cockpit. You really got to work the steering wheel left and right to keep it pointed in the right direction. Not the case for Colton Herta. He's 16 years old, but man, is he smooth inside that cockpit.
9 minutes and 40 seconds to go in race number 2 for the Indy Lights Series. Let's get an update from pit lane with Joel Sebastianelli.
Well, as you guys mentioned, Colton Herta just put down a fast lap, and he needs to keep doing that. Don't forget, with the new push-to-pass rules this year, you can't use that defensively. The consensus from the drivers that I talked to this morning is that if you start mid-pack or in the back of the pack, it's great to have working through the field, but if you're up front, you dread it because there's nothing you can do but block at the race car and hope that you're just putting down fast enough times to not let the driver behind you get within 1 second.
Davey, the way the system's set up, you're kind of a sitting duck out front unless you're as strong as Aaron Telitz was yesterday and as strong as Colton Herta's been today. Get yourself a gap, you're still going to be a handful.
That's the key. Right now, 1.2 second gap, so Herta's looking good because Urrutia can't use it. It's just not there for him to use. So it's an interesting concept of how this push and pass works. And you know, whether it's fair or not fair, it's exciting to see how these guys use it.
Again, this is the Indy Light Series presented by Cooper Tires. One step below the Verizon IndyCar Series. What's at stake in this championship? A scholarship to compete in the Indianapolis 500 and at least 3 other races in the Verizon IndyCar Series. We have seen some of the greatest IndyCar talent here in the last decade. This is where they get their start. This is where they cut their teeth in the Indy Lights Series. And certainly these drivers that you're watching and listening to are going to be the future stars of the Verizon IndyCar Series. Colton Herta is your leader now with 8 minutes to go here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Santi Urrutia runs in the 2nd position. Pato O'Ward just about 5 or 6 car lengths back in 3rd. Kyle Kaiser runs in 4th. Aaron Telitz, yesterday's winner, is 5th. Shelby Blackstock is 6th. Zachary Clayman-DeMello runs in 7th. Nico DePero is 8th. Ryan Norman and Juan Pedro Hita run 9th and 10th. In 11th is Matthias Lace. 12th is Dalton Kellett, 1 lap down. Garth Rickards is out of the race in 13th. Nico Jamin is out of the race in 14th. And Neil Alberico out of the race for an opening lap crash in 15th. Out of turn number 14, leaders come once again. David, that advantage for Herta still at about a 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, just keeps moving it up. So right now he's safe with no pressure behind him with only 7 laps to go. And maybe, I think they'll get this thing finished. The time and laps are going to be real close to each other, but hopefully they get the 45 laps in, and right now there's no pressure on him at all.
Jake Query, Colton Herta, the leader out of turn number 3.
Colton Herta is 3 weeks from his 17th birthday. Santi Urrutia, the driver, trying to reel him in. Last year won 4 races in this series. Quite the disparity in terms of their experience for this opening weekend in St. Petersburg. But Colton Herta has yet really to put a tire in the wrong spot. Urrutia had closed in that gap. But now, Dave, it appears as though Colton Herta is getting himself some breathing room.
Colton really checked out that last time around. I'm going to call it 12 car lengths between he and Santi Urrutia. If you're Aaron Telitz, yesterday's winner, you got to be thinking to yourself, was that last restart the last shot he had at moving up? It's Herta, Urrutia, O'Ward, Kaiser, and then Aaron Telitz, the top 5. Really, no one's making a play for any positions right now.
And David, you're right. It looks like that time and the laps going to match up close enough that we're going to go ahead and run the full 45. So with just 6 laps to go, Colton Herta trying to hold on and score career win number 1 in just his 2nd race in the Indy Lights Series. And what a story that's going to be, Davey. 7 veterans made up of the 7 veterans, 8 rookies in this 15-car field, and potentially we're going to have 2 first-timers go to victory lane. Telitz yesterday and maybe Herta today.
That tell you the talent. There's some talent in this series right now, and that's great. And Rookie of the Year in this particular division is going to be outstanding to see who gets that, because there's so many great race drivers.
Rookie of the Year, more times than not, ends up being the champion, because those drivers that scrap into these race cars are really so strong right out of off the truck.
Exactly right. And Telitz, even though a good run, but back when you start behind guys and you're in the traffic and it's a track that's hard to pass on, you know, as dominant as he was yesterday, if he started on the pole, he could be dominating again today. Who knows? But qualifying is so important, and then he'll learn that for sure.
And Rob Howden, we kind of talked about, we followed this Aaron Telitz storyline throughout the course of the weekend. They kind of gave up a little bit in qualifying the 2nd session because they knew how good they were going to be in race 1. He started 10th, still doing a great job up to 5th.
Yeah, one of the big things about Aaron Telitz and the Velarde Auto Racing team is they decided to hold on to a set of tires during that 2nd qualifying session. They decided not to put on fresh Coopers. They wanted to hold that set to the first race. They had him on pole position. They wanted to give him every chance he could to get out and win, and he did exactly that. That strategy paid off. Every other driver having to start both races on scuffed tires. Obviously, they use those stickers to their full effect in race number 1. I think Telitz has done a great job here to work his way back up to 5th. And we talked about the championship chase and heading all the way to Watkins Glen in September. Last year it was Felix Sorrellis and Felix Rosenquist on the podium for these races, the race winners here in St. Petersburg. Neither of those 2 drivers were in the championship hunt. You do not need to win here to be in the championship, but man, it's a really good way to kick things off. And one last point before we let this thing go to green. You talk about the Mazda Road to Indy. 4 of the top 5 drivers on the racetrack right now with pro Mazda race wins, Nick. The only one, Colton Herta, obviously ran in Europe, ran in USF 2000 to get things underway, and he's looking to grab his first ever Mazda Road to Indy win.
Experience is, even for guys that are, 16 to 24 years old, that experience certainly matters, and especially at a street course race, Davey, because all of these street course events are so much different than some of the ovals that these drivers are in.
Yeah, you know, the permanent courses and the ovals, you know, they're permanent race courses that are smoother. There's more room for forgiveness on almost all of them. But yeah, when you're on these street road courses, you're bouncing around. And we see guys make the smallest of mistakes, and man, you're in the wall in no time flat.
Oh, and then we threw an extra curveball at him by kind of manipulating turn 3 and changing
making that one even more difficult.
So even if you have experience of ran here in the past, it was still a brand new racetrack for a lot of these guys.
Well, you know, and I heard that in the Indy cars actually got through turn 3 pretty good, but it was these lower divisions, these cars, the road to Indy cars, that were bottoming out and shooting them into the wall. So that's why they put the curbing up there, but I don't know if it really saves them or not. We've just seen a lot of guys plow that wall in turn 3, and so I don't know if it was a good or bad move, but hopefully they'll get that fixed. I would like to see them take that away, to be honest with you, and then give us another passing zone down in turn 4.
3 laps to go. Jake Query, Colton Herta. We've noticed throughout the course of the weekend, kind of sounds like his dad. Well, he's driving like the old man today. He's in the lead out of turn number 3 with 3 to go.
Brian Herta, street course precision, one of the things he was known for. Appears as though that apple didn't fall far from the tree, because Colton Herta is starting to put this one away. He had done so really up until the point when they had that restart, and then on the restart had to hold off the challenge of that Uruguayan behind him, Santi Urrutia. But now Colton Herta, as he works his way towards turn number 10, Dave, his gap seems to be growing with each and every lap.
Inch by inch, this thing, the gap between he and Santi Urrutia continues to grow here, and further back, obviously, with Pato O'Ward and then the 18 of Kyle Kaiser. You bring up Brian Herta. Remember, he's the 1993 Indy Lights champion, and undoubtedly, whenever Brian comes back to St. Petersburg, Florida, he reminisces about that 1, 2, 3, 4 finish that Andretti Autosports had when Dan Weldon won in that first trip back for the IndyCar series. So a lot of great memories here for St. Pete for Brian Herta. And guess what? It appears he's going to make another one here today.
Davey, this is a family sport. We've seen it whether it be with the Andrettis or the Rahals, the Hertas, even the Hamiltons, with your son Davey Jr. in racing as well. This is going to be a big storyline, and this is going to be a one to watch, Colton Herta, because he's not just a name. We've seen it through the last few years, whether it be racing overseas or in USF 2000. Very talented young man, and boy, he has put together a perfect race today here in St. Pete.
He sure has, and he's put the work and all the effort that goes into it. People don't understand the sacrifices, even at his age, that you have to do to become a racing driver, and man, he's done it all absolutely the right way and proper, and jumps in one of these Indy Lights cars and shows like a true veteran. So hats off to him. And look, with one, they're going to be coming down right now for the white flag. Got one more lap to go, and he's going to bring home the checker.
Not just a family sport in racing, but it is in baseball as well, as the Steinbrenners, George Michael IV has gotten involved, partnering up with Michael Andretti to put Colton Herta in this car. He sees the white flag, makes that right-hander of turn number 1, back to the left-hander of turn number 2. Jake Query bring Colton Herta home for the final time out of turn number 3.
At 16 years old, I was hoping to master parallel parking. Colton Herta now still yet to reach the tender age of 17 and running in just his second race here in the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. Fires that Mazda engine all the way around Pioneer Park. He still has Santi Urrutia safely behind him, about 10 car lengths or so. Colton Herta takes that turn number 9. Coming at you, Dave, first for the final time.
Chubby Checkers making an appearance at the Mahaffey Theater in a couple of weeks, March 23rd. Not sure if Colton likes the classics, but undoubtedly he likes the twist to his career. After a couple years overseas, he's back in the States and making a name for himself once again. Colton Herta here in St. Petersburg.
Out of turn 14, we may have a future superstar on our hands. Second generation driver Colton Herta across the start-finish line. He'll see the checkered flag, and he will take that Andretti Steinbrenner Mazda to victory lane here at St. Petersburg in race number 2. Santi Urrutia grabs the second position. Pato O'Ward comes home third. Kyle Kaiser is fourth. Yesterday's winner, Aaron Telitz, with a nice points day. He finishes fifth.
Colton Herta getting the win here in race number 2 on the weekend. The Mazda Indy Lights Grand Prix of St. Petersburg presented by Cooper Tires. Colton, you just show up to the Mazda Road Indy and score a win in your second race ever. Have you had any fun this weekend?
Oh, of course. It's always fun when you get to win, isn't it? But yeah, everybody's done an amazing job and picked up a podium yesterday and one better today up on the top step.
the Mazda Road Indy, it's obviously a unique series designed to take kids out of karting, somewhere you were not too long ago, and now you're here at the top level trying to get to IndyCar. What do you think of the Mazda Road Indy? Does it work?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the stats show it. I think 22 out of the 20, or 18 out of the 20 IndyCar drivers went through Mazda Road Indy in some way or form, and oh yeah, it works amazingly. You don't see this anywhere else in the world, and it's why we see rookies coming in to IndyCar so fluently.
And then finally, just tell me about the race. This one was very different than yesterday. A lot more cautions, a lot more stop and go. Just talk me through the race.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. For sure, we had more cautions in this one, so it was less about managing the tires and more about keeping the heat in them. And when we were behind the safety car, but we did a good enough job, and we held off Santi, which was extremely tough. So yeah, it was all good, and picked up the W.
All right, well, you got someone here who wants to congratulate you. Go ahead. Colton Herta, your winner here at the Mazda Indy Lights Grand Prix of St. Petersburg.